The first layer of that starts with Julian Carranza's future with the team. If the Philadelphia Union, I almost said the Phillies, if the Philadelphia Union can afford to keep him, if they can pay, if they will pay, like there's so many questions I have. Will they pay? Can they pay? What is that final number going to look like? We have, of course, heard rumors about other teams that are heavily pursuing Julian Carranza, and rightfully so. You look at how he's been playing this year alone. He's taken major strides in his play as being that consistent goal scorer, but also being a guy that can high press and defend well, that can create, that can do, honestly, a little bit of everything, and is bringing the consistency. So it's by no surprise that other clubs around soccer are looking to bring in Julian Carranza. And with every rumor, I get more and more nervous because we know for the Union, typically, historically, they don't spend a lot of money. So if it becomes a bidding war, that makes me very nervous. So first things first, because regardless what decisions they make in terms of the roster, I don't know realistically how confident I am in the Union being able to keep Julian Carranza. I feel like every day I kind of go back and forth. With every goal, with every game, that he shows how much he's needed on this team, I feel like it should also be seen from the front office of we got to lock him in. Sugarman, everybody, we got to lock him in. We got to keep him. But then I also get nervous because if there's some big high price market numbers that are being offered, will that sway? Will that sway the decision of let him walk, we'll take the money and we'll go invest in and bring in somebody else? I don't know. I get nervous. I'm very nervous because this, to me, keep Julian Carranza, lock him in, pay whatever is needed to keep him. But I don't know that I have that much faith.
No, I completely understand that. And Julian bringing up a good point. You know, his absence has been felt when he hasn't been in there. I mean, the team struggles to score goals. I mean, this is a team that doesn't, they don't light up the scoreboard to begin with. But with Carranza, he's a dynamic scorer. And we always do know that. I don't know what the front office is thinking. I would like to believe that they feel the way we do. And if you can't sell him off, and it'd be nice to sell him off only because his contract will be up at the end of the year. And guys, I do think that the interest in him is absolutely legit. You know, Renee mentioned it, his scoring ability this season. And honestly, you talk about most valuable player type of attributes. One thing I always talk about is, yes, there are great players. I mean, these are professional sports. But what does the team look like without the player? And that was my argument with the whole Jokic and Embiid stuff the past couple of years with the NBA MVP. You look at the Sixers without Embiid, they're not the same team. You look at the Union without Julian Carranza, it's not the same team. Now, I'm not obviously saying that Carranza is an MVP candidate this year, but you guys see the impact that Carranza has on the soccer club. So Feyenoord, it seems like it's a legit rumor, right? We still don't have anything concrete. But it is the Netherlands. It is a league that just develops players. And Carranza, I feel like he just needs a jumping board to Europe. And if it's the ever DCA, that league is great for development and finishing out your development in general. I think it's a great spot for him. What do the Union do after that? That is going to be the key question.
You just unpacked a lot there, JP. Listen, I think starting the first things first, I'm going to go back to Julian Carranza first because this is where it's difficult. He is going to become a free agent, of course, the end of December. We don't even think he's going to make it that long before something has to be decided, whether it's with the Union or not. And as you mentioned with Feyenoord, who as a club out of the Netherlands is, in advanced talks with Julian Carranza, is somebody that would give him be a significant addition in their squad, but probably be able to give him a better contract. And then on top of that, because there are plenty of clubs around soccer that are looking to have conversations and contract talks with Carranza, for the Union, what does that mean? Because to Julian's point and to what we've talked about before, you see every game that Julian Carranza has not played in, you can tell the difference in the squad. And I always get weary of, do you bring in a new guy that's going to take some time to transition, learn the tendencies of his teammates and vice versa, need time to transition to the new environment, or go with the guy who you already have that's already been here for a couple of seasons, that already has taken time to bond and build the chemistry with his teammates. And with how young Carranza is as well, to be able to keep him another year or two, pay him, keep him, and build with him, to me, sounds like a very viable solution. Like, that's the direction I would want the Union to go versus having to start all over again. Because part of the issue when you look over the years, Brendan Aronson, Mark McKenzie, over the years of different, even a Kasper Shabilko, different guys, Corey Burke that they've lost, and replaced, that replacement takes time. It doesn't happen instantly. It's not a plug and play situation. It's going to take time for that new player to come in and bond and gel and figure things out. So I would love, regardless of who the union is targeting, to lock in Julian Carranza. Obviously, locking him in does change who you're targeting because you have to pay him. You got to afford to keep him. And in order to pay him means you might not have enough money to give to somebody else like a Lopez, for example. So to me, it's keep him, and maybe now the player you're bringing in isn't as big of a flashy signing and a big name guy that's making a splash as soon as you hear the news drop, but is going to be another piece that can make an impact, compete for a starting spot, help change things. So that's the first thought that I have in terms of even what the union should be looking to do. Before I even get into what position they are looking to bring in, I think first things first is you lock in Carranza, keep him, keep this offense that's finally, JP, generating chances, scoring chances. We have had over half their games this season where they've scored 2 or more goals. They are actually scoring. The difference is they're not winning games. They're not able to, get clean sheets. They're not able to put teams away, but they are scoring. They are creating more. They are looking a little bit more similarly to kind of some flashes of what we saw in 2022, to be honest, of how their offense is clicking. The movement's been there. The passing has been there, but something is definitely still missing. That is evident. Yeah. Regardless of where in the depth chart, in the lineup, something is clearly missing for this team. But I don't know about you. Before we even get into what position, because that's a lot in itself, do you feel like the union should lock in on Carranza? Or are you on the side of let him go, bring the money in, and it's not a rebuild, and build from there?
I mean, obviously I would love to keep Carranza. I just realistically thinking, I just don't think Carranza wants to stay here long term. I think he's had in his mind that he's wanted to play. I mean, like, Renee, we've interacted with Carranza, right? Like, love Carranza. I think once it's all said and done, he's a player that we're all going to remember for the rest of our lives because he's brought on some great moments, and he's just super talented in general. But, just the vibe, it just doesn't feel like this is something he's thinking about long term.
You mean when he was saying his favorite part about Philly is being able to go to D.C. and New York?
I mean, come on, that's a little bit. That's
like
a little
asking
bit
him his favorite part of the city, and he's like, "I love to be able to go to D.C. and New York." I'm like, but what about this city? What do you like about this city that you are in? That's a good point you bring up. Sadly,
yeah. So I mean, like what Julian said is the best case scenario, right? The best case scenario is you sell him in the summer. You get maybe $2 million, if that, right, off a transfer fee. And then you loan him for the rest of the season to come back here to essentially stay here. And then after that, if he goes to Feyenoord or wherever he goes, that next deal that he signs, because trust me, I think Carranza, wherever he goes, that first team in Europe, he's going to be moving on shortly after that.
Yeah.
I think his trajectory is similar to Tati Castellanos. I've always said that. I still feel like that. So get that transfer fee clause for his next deal. So if you sell him off this summer, you loan him, you get that loan deal to stay here for the rest of the season, and then after Feyenoord or whatever that club is, if he gets sold off to a Bundesliga side, a Serie A side, a portion of that transfer fee comes back here. That is the Ernst business that we always love and we always, just rave over. So to answer your question, I would like for him to come back. I just don't think it will happen per se. But the other tough part about it too is you want to keep him here for the rest of the season because, like you said, like making those signings in the middle of the summer transfer period and hoping that they can just gel for the rest of the season you're just asking for a recipe for disaster. Like that only works for like your aging Euro stars, like when like a Zlatan comes in the middle of the season, like he's knocking in for like 30 goals, like that type of stuff is so hard to do. That's why it's so crucial. And I mean, I still have trust in Ernst, but it's going to be crucial the way they handle Julian Carranza.
It's very important. This is a big move because exactly as we're talking about, whatever changes are made, there is going to be a period of learning. It's not going to instantly translate to success from day one. There are, as you mentioned, JP, very few players. It takes a specific type of player that can come right in and hit the ground running. As we had Seba talking about with us on the show, a lot of times these roster moves are made and you're playing a game with that team within a week. So you go from, I'm living in one city with one team to within a day, it's like, pack up your stuff, you're moving. Oh, wait, jump right into training, jump right into a game. You're relocating to a new environment, sometimes even to a new league, especially in the soccer world. And on top of that, you have to jump right in and play games with guys that, first of all, they might not all even speak the same language as you because of the diversity of the league, which is a great thing in itself. But it does require a language barrier, that you might be on a team with guys and you don't even speak the same language, let alone the same soccer language of knowing tendencies, movements, soccer personality, things like that. So there's so many layers to this. And I feel like, for simplifying things, a mid-season move would be better if you can keep Julian Carranza. And let's say, at the end of the season, he goes. Yeah. But realistically, I think we all had a feeling that once the season started, summer was the time for Julian Carranza. We had heard all the rumors. It's been constantly talked about in that, the summer transfer window was going to be something to keep an eye on for him, that he was going to stay, lock in. But, there's a high likelihood that this summer transfer window is going to see Julian Carranza out of Philly. Realistically, I think we can all be realistic about that. So it is unfortunate, because you do love what he's bringing to the team, how he's playing, how the team has been looking. And it's a shame to think that they're going to be, this summer having to change it up and not start all over, but, fix things and tweak things and bring in somebody new. So it's a lot. It's a lot to think about.
Real quick, Jose did bring up something that's important. I completely forgot when we did this deal. So when we acquired, I should say, when we signed Carranza permanently after that loan deal with Miami, there was a clause in there that if we sold off Carranza, a percentage of that transfer fee would go back to Miami. So that we don't know the percentage. It's still, I did a quick search on the World Wide Webs, and I still haven't found anything as a concrete percentage here. But
that's the thing. You have to make the best business move.
Yeah.
Financially, it has to make sense too, of course. But, when you look at all the clauses of contracts and deals, and whether it's a loan situation, a full-on trade, whatever it is, that's going to take time. That's something that I'm sure has been the reason why the summer transfer window is more of an option versus having had that move made, in the final weeks before the season started. So I'm hoping Julian Carranza will stay with the Union. We don't have to worry about, a complete shakeup, but instead make a small addition, because we don't need addition by subtraction. I would love addition in addition to Carranza's being locked in, because otherwise you're now going to have to, you think about it, you're losing, one of your leading goal scorers, and then you're going to bring somebody else new in the middle of the season. That's not a minor roster move. That we're not talking about you're bringing in a depth piece, you're bringing in, a third string goalie. You're talking about bringing in a guy that's going to be with the expectation, or should be with the expectation, that they're replacing Julian Carranza. That's the next issue of this. And the other issues, just thinking, who is that option? What position?
We all silly like the mayor.